Before you go and buy tickets to Oogie Boogie Bash 2024, make sure you watch this video because I'm going to give you the pros and cons for going to Oogie Boogie Bash. I'm Sahara, the borderline millennial. I talk about events, happenings, and entertainment. And one thing that I really love is Disneyland. I love all things Disney. I got engaged at Disneyland, and I've always been a huge fan of Disney Park. And I'm also a huge lover of Halloween. So going to Oogie Boogie Bash at Disneyland kind of seems like a no-brainer for me, except I didn't actually go to Oogie Boogie Bash last year after having gone for the last 2 years before, and then another few years before that with the gap of the pandemic, of course. Now, I'll get into my reasoning for not going to Oogie Boogie Bash last year more in this video, but I just want to preface this one by saying I love Disneyland and I think Oogie Boogie Bash is a really good time, and if it's something you've never done before and you've always wanted to do, I definitely recommend doing Oogie Boogie Bash at least once in your lifetime. It's so much fun, it's great for families, it's great for kids, and it's great for adults if you want to go in a friend group or with your significant other, which is something that I've done recently, or if you even want to just go solo. I think anybody who loves Disney, who loves Halloween, should definitely go to Oogie Boogie Bash once in their lifetime. But I will say, if you are on the fence of whether or not you should get your tickets for Oogie Boogie Bash before they go on sale next week, so like in June, then maybe this will help you with your decision-making process. All right, so before we get into the pros and cons list, let me first give you a few details of what Oogie Boogie Bash is, how you get your tickets, when you get your tickets, and etc., etc., etc. So Oogie Boogie Bash is a special after-hours event happening at Disneyland Resort, but instead of it being at Disneyland Park, it's actually going to be at California Adventure Park, which is where it's been for the last few years. It's a special ticketed event that goes from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. with special early access at 3 p.m. During Oogie Boogie Bash, you get to see characters dressed in their Halloween costumes, get unique photo op experiences, have an exclusive time at the park with only other ticketed events guests. And of course, it's the one time of the year that you get to come to Disneyland in costume. So yes, that means you can come dressed as Princess Tiana or you can come dressed as Prince Naveen, because this isn't going to be regulated. So typical days at Disneyland, you're not allowed to dress as characters, which is why they've created Disney Bounding, which is where you can dress in an outfit that's similar to the essence of a character without directly being a costume of that character. And so, for Oogie Boogie Bash, you can actually come in a full cosplay version of any character from Disney or whatnot, other properties, as long as it's appropriate, and really just go all out, have fun, and take tons of photos. And of course, they usually let children dress like this, but I'm talking adults can come in full costume. I myself love going in costume. I don't do a full costume because I like to go to these events for rides, and so I don't feel like wearing a princess ball gown to Disneyland, but I will go into like a Disney bound costume, and that's always really fun for me. All right, so let's get into the ticketing detail information. So Oogie Boogie Bash 2024 is going to begin on August 25th and go all the way through October 31st. These are only going to be select dates and select evenings, so not every single day, but a pretty good amount of the days between that time frame are going to be available for you. Ticket sales officially start next week. Beginning on June 25th, Inspire Magic Key holders will be able to get their ticket, and only a limited quantity will be available. Then on June 26th, all Magic Key holders will be able to purchase their pre-sale tickets. And then finally on June 27th, any person in the public, including those with or without a Magic Key, will be able to purchase their ticket. Now, the ticket queue lines is something that's always very difficult to navigate when you're getting these Oogie Boogie Bash tickets, especially because last year these sold out within minutes, within a few hours. Like, they just sold out so quickly. I think everybody is getting on the Halloween train finally, and they're really wanting these tickets. And so you're going to want to get into that queue line as soon as you can. And for every level and every pre-sale option, the queue opens at 8:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then the actual ticket sales begin at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Get on your computer as early as you can, close to those times, and just refresh your page until you get into that queue line. And remember, once you do get into that queue line, do not refresh, do not exit out of your browser. Just keep your eyes on it and just be patient and wait for your time to get your tickets. Now, that being said, once you've exited the queue and are finally able to get your tickets, make sure you know exactly what you're getting, how many you're getting, and you have your payment information ready. I recommend actually doing this through your Disney account, already signing in, having your saved paid information ready to go, because that's just going to help you get through this process and make sure you get the tickets and dates that you want when you want them. So make sure you know what day you want to go, how many tickets you're buying, and just be ready to go, because you don't want to have to be fumbling around in case there is a limited time that you actually get to purchase these tickets. All right, let's get into the pricing of Oogie Boogie Bash 2024. So of course, because this event goes through August to October, it's going to be a little bit cheaper when you start furthest away from Halloween. So your first dates in August are going to start at $134 per person. And then those prices are actually going to last until the end of August. Once we hit September, the prices definitely go up. And then we get into September, where ticket prices jump a bit to $154 per ticket, with the exception of one of the days, actually. Actually, it's 3 of the days that are going to be $169 per ticket. And these are usually like the holiday weekends, so these are like your Labor Day weekend and things like that. And then that $169 price range goes until about early October. But then when we get closer to Halloween, that's when the prices really take a jump. This is when we're going to see prices being $169, $179, and then of course, the week of Halloween, it's $189. So we go from the lowest ticket price being $134 to $189 at your highest ticket point. So that's enough on ticket pricing. Let's actually get into the pros and cons list. I like to end things on a positive note, so let me first talk about the cons of going to Oogie Boogie Bash 2024, or just in general going to Oogie Boogie Bash any year. First, like we had just talked about, it gets pretty expensive to go to Oogie Boogie Bash. Yeah, you can go in August or early September, and it's, around $134, $154. And that's not bad. It's comparable to a typical day at a single park. That's not too bad. But if you really want to go during spooky season, which is, October, you're going to be paying a lot more than that, up to $189. So it's not something that is necessarily affordable for a family or for anyone for that matter, but it is definitely a splurge. So just think about that when you think of some of the costs associated to going to Oogie Boogie Bash. It is a bit expensive. Another con for me is that it's not super different than a regular day at the park. For an entire day at Disneyland on Halloween itself, I did some research. It's $154 to spend the entire day at Disneyland. Think about that, and then think about how much it costs for an Oogie Boogie Bash ticket on Halloween night. And that's $189. So it's actually much cheaper for you to spend Halloween at Disneyland for the entire day than it is for you to spend Halloween at Oogie Boogie Bash for just like 8 hours, and that's only at California Adventure. So for me last year, that was actually the biggest selling point for me not to go to Oogie Boogie Bash, but instead I did opt to go and just spend a full day at Disneyland during spooky season, and I got my fix, I got my fill. I had so much fun in the Halloween spooky season atmosphere, and I paid less for it and had more time there. So that was a really big selling point for me in that regard. Another con on a similar note is that it's only California Adventure and you don't go into Disneyland. Now for me, Halloween time at Disney is at Disneyland and not so much at California Adventure. At Disneyland, you have Haunted Mansion, which is like the most Halloween that you can get at Disney. And before the pandemic, and actually like a few years before this pandemic started, Oogie Boogie Bash used to be at Disneyland. It wasn't always at California Adventure. That's something that started around like 2017, 2018. And when that change started, it just wasn't as fun. There aren't as many fun rides that you can do at California Adventure as you can at Disneyland. And the entire Halloween vibe is stronger at Disneyland than California Adventure. So that was a big con for me when I think about doing this year after year. Speaking of year after year, my next con is that there isn't much variation in between each year's Oogie Boogie Bash. Like I've said, I've gone to this multiple times and I've gone back to back before, like years back to back. And by going to do that, I've noticed very little changes actually in the event itself. Like sure, some of the characters have different costumes and there's a little bit different theme, but overall it's the same idea year after year. It's you go, you get to dress in costume, you get to do trick-or-treating, and it's decorated for Halloween and you have really fun photo ops. But that's pretty much it. There isn't a whole lot of variation in the types of cavalcade and the types of activities that you can do. So for me, it's similar to like, if I've done it once before, you've done it all the time. Like, if you've done it before, you don't need to go every single year. But if you haven't done it and you haven't gone in like the last like 4 or 5 years, then definitely go back and see how it feels, see if you notice changes, and I think you'll have a fun new experience. And my last con is that it is limited hours. So this is true for any after hours special ticketed event at Disney. And so, like I said, this event itself is from 6 to 11 p.m., but you do have early access at 3 p.m. Though one thing a lot of people don't really understand with that early access is, yes, you can get into the parks as early as 3, but anything associated to the event itself doesn't start until 6 p.m. So if you're wanting to get in there early at 3 so you can get a photo op picture with the Minnie Mouse and other characters dressed as the Sanderson sisters, you're not going to be able to do that at 3 p.m. You're going to do that at 6 p.m., but people will start lining up as soon as 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. to get that picture. So that is another con for me, is that even though you get to go in there early, you don't get to access the exclusive opportunities yet, and it's just a really short time frame, so you get like 8 hours at the park. And that actually also reminded me of one other con for me, is that a lot of people will go to these special ticketed events so that they can get access to the exclusive photo opportunities. And while that's amazing, a lot of the special ones have lines that last 1, 2, or like even 3 hours long. So if you're spending 3 hours of an 8-hour time in line, or less if you don't get there early, then you're wasting your money on one photo. Like, you're just wasting your time and really not even getting to enjoy the rest of the event. So I find that to be something that's just not fun for me. Like, I don't want to go here and wait 3 hours in line and then only have 2 or 3 more hours to go and enjoy the rest of the event. So that's another big con for me. So, those are things that are really big considerations for me when deciding whether or not I'm personally going to be going to Oogie Boogie Bash this year. I didn't go last year, so maybe I will go this year, but, those are some pretty big cons. But as much as there are, downsides of going, there are some really awesome, fun things that you can do at Oogie Boogie Bash. So here are my pros for going to Oogie Boogie Bash 2024. All right, so obviously the biggest pro for me is the exclusivity. When you go to these special ticketed events at Disneyland, you get to have exclusive access to the park. So anybody going to Oogie Boogie Bash is at California Adventure, and those are the only people that are going to be there. So that means there's less crowds, there's less wait times on rides, especially because people are going to be waiting in line for pictures a lot of the night. And it's just like so easy to get around and to get everything done. So having exclusive access to the park is one of my favorite things about Oogie Boogie Bash. Another great pro and advantage of Oogie Boogie Bash is the exclusive character opportunities. So during Oogie Boogie Bash, you get to see characters that you don't typically get to see on a normal day at Disney. So you get to see characters like Dr. Facilier, Ursula, and a bunch of other really fun villains. And you also get to see standard characters, but they're dressed up as their favorite villains or their favorite characters, so they're in fun costumes. All right, so the third pro for me is you get free candy and free treats. So obviously, as an adult, I don't need a pillowcase full of candy, but it is fun to have. But if you have a family and you have little kids and you don't necessarily like going trick-or-treating in your neighborhood, then this is a great time to do that. I also really love that as an adult, and I love Halloween, and I love trick-or-treating as a kid, this is a way for me to kind of have that nostalgic feeling of trick-or-treating. And you get so much candy. Like, they give you these like little bags when you get there to put your candy in. But pro tip, bring a bigger bag. Bring a pillowcase. Bring a sack, because you will literally have pounds and pounds of candy when you come home. So that's something that I really like, because I like to get all this candy, and that's what I use to give out to trick-or-treaters, to give out to friends at my Halloween party, and to just like nibble on for months. And it's really fun. And they also have non-candy options like grapes and apples and applesauce, and that's great too. All right, my next pro is that you have access to exclusive drinks and food at this special event. Oogie Boogie Bash and other after hours events always have really fun signature treats like different cookies or specific beverages, and these are things that you can only get during the ticketed event. So even if you get to the park early, they're not available for purchase. So it's really fun if you like getting those exclusive things and you like to be in the know and you like getting limited edition things, because this is the time to do that. All right, and I talked about this next pro a little bit before, but another pro for me is that you get to come in costume, and not just kids, but the adults too. I think it's so fun to go, one, dressed up myself, but two, seeing everyone else get dressed up. People are so creative, people have so much skill, and they have dedication that they put into creating their costumes for Oogie Boogie Bash. And one of my favorite things is just as people watch, because people get so creative, and I just love seeing adults finally like dressing up in costume and having a really good time with it. It's just, I don't know, it's just a really nice sentiment, and it's a nice feeling to be around. And then my last major pro is that you get to have exclusive fun activities just for Oogie Boogie Bash. So one of the things I really like about Oogie Boogie Bash is that it's a family-friendly event, of course, but they have really cool cavalcades. So you get to see your villains going through California Adventure Park and doing their little dances and having fun. And I love parades, I love cavalcades, so to be able to see the special Halloween one is one of my favorite things to do at Oogie Boogie Bash. Wow, that was a pretty beefy list of pros and cons. And of course, you know, I'm sure there's other things that I forgot about, but those are the ones that stood out to me. Those are the most important for me when I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to be purchasing tickets to Oogie Boogie Bash. Of course, I do have a little bit of time to decide, and so do you, but just know that ticket sales often go pretty fast, especially in these recent years. So make your decision as soon as you can. I hope these pros and cons helped you in your decision. And I hope that if you don't make it to Oogie Boogie Bash this year, you at least try to get to the parks during Halloween time, because it's one of my favorite times of the year. I love it. I love Halloween. And if you don't see me at Oogie Boogie Bash, you'll probably see me there for Halloween time. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have questions or need more advice on Oogie Boogie Bash, definitely leave me a comment. Don't forget to like this video, give it a big thumbs up because it really helps this channel. Subscribe if you like events, happenings, and entertainment, and Halloween and holidays, because that's what I talk about a lot on here, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye!
Just trying to get something.